So for this new assignment, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to change the paper size. That's going to be our big first deal. When you create a new document, this little window is going to pop up. This should look pretty familiar to you, okay? And the size here that we used for our last assignment in Illustrator was letter size. We're going to change to what we call tabloid. And tabloid is another way of saying 11 by 17. And if you go here, you see the width is in points. Does anybody know what a point is, by the way? How big points are? It's rather interesting. No? Well, there's 72 points in an inch. A 12-point font, okay, is roughly 6 lines per inch if it's 12 points tall. That kind of thing. So points are kind of hard, but points are a standard unit of measure for the publishing industry because it goes by the height of font. If you want to change the inches, you can do that. You can even change the picas. Picas are interesting. 6 picas per inch. So 11 by 17. It can get very... Picas are great for publishing as well. But for this, we'll just use inches is great. If you want to, or you can keep it on points. It really doesn't matter, but I like working in inches when we're doing something simple like this. So we're just going to then click OK, and this is going to pop up, and you can see it doesn't really look all that different because, again, size is really relative when it comes to what it looks like on the monitor. The difference is that if we were to print these out on 11 by 17 paper, your designs will end up looking a lot different. To start this, what you really want to do is you just want to start with the rectangular tool. I like to set it up. If you start double clicking, you can set up just plain black. Okay, not going to really work with colors. Get rid of the stroke around the object. So what I did is I double clicked on here, and that gave me this. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to click on the stroke here, and I'm going to say no stroke. Okay, so now when I create my box, it's just a black box, and it has no border around it. Now you can define squares. I guess I could say rectangles would be appropriate as well. This is obviously a little bit big if I'm going to be doing 6 designs in here. So you can just start. Now the designs and the shapes can overlap each other. You can also, if you want, use the stroke in order to define something. So let's say I wanted to do something, say, about trucks. Okay, maybe I do a logo for a trucking company. The first thing that I could do is using my squares, I could set up a series of shapes here. I want a little bit of a separation between them. And start looking at how I could build, something that's, looks like a truck. Now, one of the things that I might want to look at is, do I want to build them all like separate? Do I want to move these in so that they're overlapping so it looks like a solid shape? Those are things that you can definitely, play with. The other thing that you can do is, let's say I'm going to go to the ellipse tool here, and I'm going to make a perfect circle. There's 2 things you can do to make a perfect circle. Number 1 is hold the Shift key down as you draw it. And you can see that it starts from the top left and it draws a perfect circle. If you hold the Option key down, it draws a circle from the center, which I like a lot. That's up to you. But hold the Option key down and draws a circle from the center. So now I'm going to hold the Shift key and the Option key down at the same time, and I get a perfect circle, and it's being drawn from the center, which is rather nice. So now I'm going to start thinking about the wheels here. And I look at that and I go, okay, but it's kind of boring. What if I kind of like them separated. Kind of even that out maybe. But the real question is, what about the wheels? How could I separate the wheels? Somebody have an idea? I've already showed it to you in previous demo. How about let's just put a white stroke around them. So I'm going to select that wheel, go down here to the stroke, double click, and get a white stroke around it, and then I can pump that up. I can also go to the stroke palette here, and I can identify whether I want it to the inside, to the outside, or to the center. Well, in this case, I think I want it on the outside. And then I can actually just delete this. Option drag gets me a new copy. There. May not be the prettiest thing in the world yet, but it's a start. And you start looking at this and you're going, okay, so what else do I want to do? Well, there's really, I mean, you can do a lot with this. I mean, I know I'm limiting you to circles, triangles, and squares, but there's so much other, things that you can do. So I can take another rectangle, and I can draw it here like this. And then instead of that, I can go say no stroke and then get rid of my black and make this rectangle white. Starts to look like there's actually, actually I kind of think it looks better here. You can use the cursor keys, the arrow keys on the keyboard to kind of nudge it. Option drag makes a nice copy for me. Now we're talking. What if I were to start doing something where I had, say, some texture to it? I don't know, maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. But you can see that just by using rectangles and alternating white and black, I can start adding a ton of detail to things. If I wanted to, I'm already starting to think that I'd love to make this into a tow truck. That'd be pretty cool. So I could even do something like, maybe it's a tow truck company. So here I'm going to have this rectangle, right, for the big hook. Let's go and make it black again. So go back to black. And then there's a rotate tool over here. Okay, see that? Rotate tool. And now I can take this and see how it's got the center point there? I can take that center point and drag it down to one of the anchors. And now when I rotate it, it rotates around that point, which is really cool. So let's just do an exact, like a 45-degree angle here. My move tool here. And then I can decide if I want to sink it down and in, or if I want to leave it like floating. I kind of like the idea of it floating. And now I can start, I can just do all sorts of things. What does a tow truck have that, what does a tow truck have that it's missing here? First thing I think of is like the little bubble on the top, the little orange lights. So here's where you can use maybe a triangle if you wanted to. Now, if you go here underneath this shapes tool, there's no triangle here. Okay? And I think I showed you before how to make a triangle. Just make a rectangle or a square. Go in with the white arrow tool. Select an anchor point. Actually, don't even need to use the white arrow tool. Go to the delete anchor point tool or hit the minus button to get that tool. Zap that point. And then use the white arrow tool. Go in and you can bring that back to the center. Down a little bit, whatever you want to do. Starting to look like a Humvee. Do you see how this design can start working? These are supposed to be fast. You'll probably do maybe, I'd say one a day at the beginning, and then you probably get a little faster. Probably won't take much more than, again, another week or so to get these done. But I want you to really think about things. I want you to sit here. I mean, I've done this very quickly here for you as a demo, but I want you to really think about these things. I really want you to look at the designs, think about what you can do, conceptualize. For certain categories, so let's say like travel, specific destinations, you know, say Paris, France. What's the one icon that everybody thinks of Paris, France for? The Eiffel Tower, right, exactly. But there are so many other natural landmarks in Paris, France. There are so many other things that you could use to start building some type of a logo for Paris. The Arc de Triomphe, okay, right? Have you seen that? Big arch, stoneway arch, it's really cool. The Louvre, there's so many other things that you could do to kind of get the idea of Paris, France. So don't just go with the first most obvious thing. Think about things, step back a little bit, go, is this, you know, could I make this more unique? Could I make this better somehow by choosing a different subject? You know, so I did a trucking company, but then I can make it better by doing a tow truck, you know, just for example. Have fun with this, be unique with it, you know, think about how things work and what icons we identify with things like beaches or cities or stuff like that. You know, if I say the beach as a location, I think of several things. I think of beach towels, I think of the sun, I think of waves. I think of specific places like the Outer Banks or, you know, I love the beaches of Puerto Rico. You know, I can think of specific places I've gone to, and each one has a different characteristic. How could I communicate that characteristic through these shapes? Does that make sense to everybody? So don't just go with your first impression. Stop for a minute and think about this before you continue on. Does this make sense? Okay.